Hello and welcome to the third video of our video series, a data science project in Python. Today we are actually going to start with the dashboard itself. I will give you a brief introduction into the framework that we are using. We are going to use the library Dash as well as Python. And then we will create our first small iteration of a possible dashboard. So let's jump into that. Alright, there we find ourselves back again in PyCharm, where we've left off in the last video. Now we would actually like to start to create a dashboard in Python, and we would like to do that in Dash-Plotly, which is the library we are going to use. But before we do that, I would like to introduce you to the Plotly website. So first of all, you can read up on what Plotly or Dash, it's the similar thing. What it is doing to your project, what you can do with it, and what is most important is the documentation. Sorry. So we go to Dash open source because we are using the open source Python library. And while the website takes a couple of seconds to load, because as far as I know, it is also written in the Dash-Plotly library, you have now all of the documentation that you need. So what is Dash? You can read the introduction, get an app gallery, some inspiration of what other people have done, how to use callbacks, which we will also do in the future video. And what we need is open source component libraries, and then you have the most important things. So first of all, we need the Dash HTML components. I will not read up on those right now, but you can go into depth if you are interested in those. And what we are also going to use in this video is a Dash core component, which is here, and in particular we are going to use the ref element. All right, so the documentation is really great. It has helped me a lot with various different problems that I've had with the previous project of mine. But let's start low and slow and get back into our editor. Let's first import Dash. Let's start with that. So import Dash. What you will see probably is that for you the import statement is red underlined, and that is because you have not installed Dash yet, which we will do. So you go pip install Dash. That's all you need to do. You see that my requirement is already satisfied, but what is interesting as well is now a real world scenario, a new version of pip has been available. So why don't we just do that as well? So pip install dash upgrade pip. So we have done that. All right, perfect. And now we can actually get going. So what we needed first is just import Dash, and now we can use the Dash library. So let's start with the basic dashboard website. So dash.dash, and then usually you call your app done the name. And what you need as well is a layout type, app dot is it lowercase? Yes. App layout equals to, and now you can do basically anything. We will leave this blank for now because we will need to import a second class of the library in a second. So just briefly leave that empty. And the end statement that you need is if done the name equals is equal to done the main, then app.run, and then we had run underscore server, exactly. You have a host argument, which we will leave at 000. That is our host, local host in that case. And we also need to specify a port, and port I like to do 8080 if I do not have anything else run in it. And then the last argument for now will be debug debug equals true. You will see what the debug equals true will be doing. It is basically a window in your dashboard application that allows you to see errors if they happen. So some errors are not displayed in the terminal here when you run your projects, but instead they are shown on the website itself. Really handy feature and really nice to have. And I forgot that. All right. So I told you we need to import something else because we can run this now, but nothing will work because the layout is empty. And to show something in the layout, we are going to use the HTML class from Dash, which is it is from Dash import HTML. And HTML is what you've seen in the documentation are these HTML components that you can now import. So let's do that now and start with something easy. No, that was correct. HTML div. Put it in brackets, and what do we start with? Let's give the website a header so you can see that your application is actually running. HTML.h1, we want it big, and let's call it "This is my first Python dashboard." All right, let's run the application. And you can see nothing has happened yet, no error messages, which is great. Let's go into the browser, paste it in there, and you can see you have just created your possibly first website in Python running on localhost 0000 on port 8080 with the header. So this for now is not very useful. You can only show some text in your dashboard, and we would like to change that. So what I've shown you is that we need to use the Dash Core Components library in order to create some of these beautiful graphs. And we will do that by from Dash import DCC, which is short for Dash Core Components. And now I need to read up on my documentation. Okay, so what I like to do instead of this, just having the blank HTML component, I like to wrap them in another div. The reason being is you can style each div individually. And div, if you don't know, div is basically like a container that holds specific elements of your website at a specific place. You can give it a position, you can give it styles, you can do a lot of things with it. So let's just get back to this is my first Python dashboard. So this has changed nothing basically, but now the HTML component is wrapped in another container, which allows us to style the container with style elements like these. We are not going to use that in this case, but this is just good practice in my opinion to not lose track of each component and to be able to uniquely style everything that's in your dashboard. So with that, we go to the next div. And here we would now like to call the dcc.graph element. The graph always has an ID, so ID equals, let's say, it's actually my first graph. The ID doesn't help you very much now, so we will also give the graph some data. So that goes by figure equal, and then it was that data. I have to read up that as well. That is not something that I am perfect at yet, remembering this. I usually copy components that I've used before from other projects or the documentation from Dash. But what you basically do is you split your data into X and Y data, and then the data within X and Y are within lists. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, whatever you wanna do. And yeah, I need to now have Y and another list, but let's just copy the stuff from above. So we have an ID, we have a figure, everything is closed as it should be. So let's try to run it and see if it works already, if we have a little graph on our website. And we do indeed. So this is basically your first dashboard. Not very useful yet, but it is the first step towards building a fully fledged application that helps you. But this looks a bit shitty, to be honest. We do not have a title, we do not have some X and Y axis labels, so you want to change that. Now it makes no sense if I just type out the different variables or arguments that you can give the graph element. I will just copy it from my documentation and then explain what each element does. Most of these things are very self-explanatory. So basically you have the data element that didn't change. You have the type. You can change the type. You can have a line graph, a bar graph. You can have a pie chart, for example. You have markers and can give the markers different colors. So for example, now the color is red. So if we run the dashboard, you can see that the color of the graph is red. You can easily change that to green. Very self-explanatory. You can give the line a width. So let's make it ridiculous. Let's make it 17. You have a layout element that can allow you to give your graph titles and Y and X axes, just as described here. And then also what is very important to me in order to style a dashboard well is to give the div element, and that's why we always put them in these div containers. You can give them, for example, a different width. So if we have it at 100 as it was before and we run the dashboard, what you can see is that the graph is, it is quite long. If you watch it on a full screen, it doesn't make sense to have it that way for such a graph with that little data points. So I'd like to actually, let's just put it to 30 maybe, run it again. And then the spacing makes much more sense. You can put multiple graphs next to each other to have like a proper dashboard, as we've seen in the overview video. And it just works better. Of course, it makes sense to also save these changes that we've just made to our Git repository. And we do that by going into the terminal and then call git. First of all, let's get git status. So let's get the status. As we've seen, we have modified the main.py, the idea. In the idea folder, there's also some modifications that has to do with your editor itself. That's not really necessary to push to GitHub. In this case, we'll do it anyway. So we start by git add and then dot. The dot stands for everything. So now we have added everything. You can see that by going to git status, and we have added the new file and modified the file. Now we want to commit the changes so they are pushed the next time we are going to push. Git commit created -m again is a message, should be very descriptive so that you can find the commit instead in case something goes wrong. So let's say created a new graph in the dashboard. main.py. All right, and now last but not least, git push in order to push our changes to the GitHub repository. Perfect, everything went well, and with that you have pushed your changes to the repository. But now back to the outro card. Bye bye. All right, I hope this video has helped you getting started with Dash and creating a dashboard in Python. In the next video, we will be going over how to structure the dashboard as well as creating the sidebar that you saw in the overview video of our project. So stay tuned for that. That video will come next week, and until then, have a great week and bye bye.